Every crime leaves behind evidence. Sometimes it's fingerprints, sometimes it's DNA, and other times it's a testimony of a witness who saw or heard what really happened. But in one extraordinary case, the witness who held the most vital clue wasn't human at all. It was a family pet. This is a chilling story of how a loyal dog, unable to speak, became the silent witness to a shocking murder, and how its instincts helped reveal the truth. It all began on what seemed like an ordinary evening. Neighbors in a quiet suburban community were startled by sudden shouting, followed by a chilling silence. Moments later, the sound of a dog barking frantically echoed through the night. Concerned, one neighbor dialed emergency services. When police arrived, they entered a home that looked like chaos had erupted within it. Inside, they discovered the victim, brutally murdered. Furniture was overturned, and objects lay scattered across the floor. But what struck investigators most wasn't the crime scene itself. It was a family dog. The animal was pacing, restless, barking in bursts that felt more like warnings and cries of distress. At first, officers thought it was nothing unusual. After all, pets often react to traumatic events. But this dog's behavior was oddly specific. It wasn't just anxious, it was focused, almost purposeful. Each time the victim's spouse entered the room, the dog's growls deepened. Its barking grew sharper and it pulled away, as though recoiling from something only it understood. On the surface, the spouse seemed devastated. They sobbed, clutched tissues, and repeated that they couldn't believe their partner was gone. To outsiders, it looked like grief. But to detectives on scene, something felt off. The spouse's story about where they had been that night didn't quite line up. And then there was the dog, reacting with unmistakable fear and hostility toward the person who claimed to be mourning. The investigators decided to take a closer look. They examined the crime scene carefully, noting that while it appeared to be a burglary, something wasn't right. Valuables like jewelry, electronics, and cash were left untouched. What was missing was staging that felt too deliberate, as if someone wanted it to look like a break-in. When forensics teams combed to the house, small but crucial details emerged. A glass window, supposedly shattered by an intruder, had breakage patterns that suggested it had been broken from the inside. Shoe prints on the carpet matched a pair of shoes found in the home's closet. Slowly, the theory of a random burglary fell apart. Meanwhile, neighbors recalled hearing heated arguments in the days leading up to the murder. Some had even seen the spouse leaving the house late at night after shouting matches. Friends of the victim admitted that the relationship had been strained for months, filled with tension and threats that had never been reported. But what truly kept investigators focused was the dog. In interviews, animal behavior specialists explained that pets, especially dogs, often recognize changes in tone, scent, and energy. A dog that once trusted someone can suddenly react with fear if it associates them with violence. This pet's repeated aggression toward the spouse was more than coincidence. It was instinct sharpened by loyalty to its fallen owner. When detectives brought the spouse back into the house during questioning, the reaction was undeniable. The dog lunged, barked, and growled with such intensity that officers had to intervene. To the investigators, it felt as though the animal was pointing them directly toward the truth. From there, the case unraveled quickly. Forensic analysis tied the spouse to the scene, finding DNA on the weapon and fibers from their clothing near the victim's body. Phone records showed suspicious activity, with late-night calls and texts deleted just hours before the murder. And financial documents revealed a motive. The spouse stood to gain a large insurance payout from the victim's death. Confronted with the evidence, the facade of grief collapsed. The spouse was arrested, tried, and eventually convicted of murder. And while the conviction rested on physical evidence and investigation, detectives admitted one undeniable fact. It was a dog, the silent witness, that kept them from overlooking the truth. This case is a haunting reminder that animals see and sense more than we often realize. They may not speak, but their instincts, loyalty, and unshakable reactions can reveal hidden truths that humans overlook. Because sometimes, justice doesn't come from words. It comes from a witness who never speaks, but never forgets. If you found this story incredible, make sure to subscribe for more true crime tales where even the smallest details, and sometimes even animals, help reveal the truth.